What would you do if the whole room was laughing at you, pointing at your shirt, whispering about your shoes, and treating your very existence like the punchline of a cruel joke? For most people, the instinct is to run, to hide, to escape the humiliation. But what if I told you that one janitor, mocked and ridiculed by his own colleagues, stood face to face with a powerful CEO, and her response turned an entire room of laughter into silence and then into tears? This is not just a story about cruelty. It is a story about dignity, about hidden strength, and about the words that can break or heal a heart. Stay with me until the very end, because what happened at that dinner table will change how you look at people forever. The company cafeteria smelled of reheated coffee and floor polish. For years, Martin had walked through those halls unseen, broom in hand, bucket by his side, the invisible man of the office. He was 52, with tired eyes and calloused hands, and though his uniform was always clean, it carried the faint smell of bleach that clung to him no matter how much he washed it. He had been a janitor here for nearly 2 decades, and while most employees passed him without a glance, he remembered them all, the young ones rushing to their desks, the managers with briefcases, the interns still bright-eyed. He watched them chase dreams, earn promotions, celebrate birthdays, while he stayed in the shadows. What no one cared to know was that Martin had once dreamed too. He had studied engineering in his youth, but life had not been kind. His father's sickness, his mother's debts, and later, the responsibilities of raising his younger siblings had forced him into work far below his talents. By the time he thought of chasing those dreams again, it was too late. He had become the janitor, nothing more in the eyes of those around him. The cruelest eyes of all belonged to a group of young employees from the marketing department. They called him Mop King, behind his back, and when he passed by, they smirked, whispering jokes about his old shoes and bent posture. But one Friday, their cruelty reached a new level. They were planning a team night out at an upscale restaurant, a gathering that would include the company's CEO, a woman known for her brilliance and commanding presence. Wouldn't it be hilarious? One of them sneered, if we set him up on a blind date. Imagine the CEO's face when she sees the janitor sitting at the table thinking it's real. The others burst into laughter. So they did it. They told Martin that a woman, an elegant, kind-hearted professional, wanted to meet him at the dinner. They painted it as a chance for him to finally be noticed, to feel special. Martin, hesitant and shy, had not dated in years. The thought both terrified and thrilled him. He borrowed a second-hand suit from a neighbor, polished his old shoes until they gleamed, and for the first time in a long time, looked at his reflection in the mirror with hope. That night, he walked into the restaurant nervously, clutching a small bouquet of flowers he had bought with his week's savings. At the long table sat employees in fine clothes, and at the head, the CEO herself, Catherine Blake, a woman in her late 30s, sharp in her tailored suit, but with kind eyes that missed nothing. The moment Martin entered, the whispers began. Phones slid discreetly out to record, laughter hid behind wine glasses. The cruel setup was in motion. Over here, one of the young men called, waving to an empty chair beside Catherine. Martin's heart pounded. He stepped forward, flowers trembling in his hand, unaware of the cruel eyes watching him, waiting for the punchline of their joke. The laughter grew as Martin sat, his nervous smile stretching too wide, too unsure. Catherine looked at him, puzzled but not unkind. She noticed the flowers, the old suit, the way his hands shook. Then she noticed the snickers around the table. She saw the way her employees leaned back, enjoying a private joke at his expense. Something in her chest tightened. She had seen this before, back when she was young, before she was CEO, when people had mocked her for being the daughter of a struggling single mother who scrubbed floors to make ends meet. Catherine knew the sting of invisible labor, the cruelty of being judged by a uniform instead of the person wearing it. "Martin, isn't it?" she said softly. "Yes, ma'am," he stammered, cheeks burning. I was told someone wanted to meet me here." The laughter at the far end of the table grew louder. One of the men whispered, he actually believed it, and another nearly choked on his drink, trying not to burst out. Catherine's eyes swept across them, sharp as knives. Then she turned back to Martin and smiled. "Well, I'm glad you came. Would you mind telling me a little about yourself?" Martin blinked. No one had asked him that in years. He cleared his throat, voice trembling. "There's not much to tell. I work here. I clean. Been doing it a long time." But Catherine leaned in, her voice warm. That's not what I asked. I asked about you. And so, slowly, haltingly, he told her about how he once studied engineering, about his dreams of building machines that could make life easier for ordinary people, about how life had cornered him into responsibilities he couldn't escape, about his siblings now grown and successful thanks to his sacrifices. The table grew quieter. The laughter faded as the employees shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The man with the phone lowered it, realizing the cruelty of what they had done. When Martin finished, Catherine's eyes glistened. She set down her glass and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Do you know what I see when I look at you, Martin? I see a man who put others before himself. I see strength most people in this room wouldn't understand. And I see someone who deserves respect, not mockery." The room went silent. Some employees lowered their heads in shame. Catherine continued, her voice unwavering. "You were brought here tonight as a joke, weren't you?" Martin's face flushed, and he nodded slightly. She turned her gaze, cold as steel, toward the guilty employees. "Shame on you. If this is how you treat the people who keep your workplace standing, if you think dignity is measured by a job title, you don't belong in my company." One young woman covered her face in tears. A man shifted uncomfortably, regret washing over his arrogance. Catherine then stood and extended her hand to Martin. "Would you do me the honor of having dinner with me?" Tears blurred his eyes as he nodded, too moved to speak. For the rest of the evening, Catherine sat with him, drawing out his stories, listening with genuine interest. The laughter never returned. By the end of the night, when Martin left, it was not as a janitor mocked in shadows, but as a man seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. In that restaurant, one woman's words turned cruelty into compassion and humiliation into dignity. The janitor who was set up as a joke became the very man who taught an entire company the meaning of respect. And maybe that's the message we all need to carry. The value of a person isn't written on their paycheck or stitched on their uniform. It's in their heart, their sacrifices, and their quiet strength that we rarely take the time to notice. So next time you pass by someone society overlooks, the janitor, the waiter, the driver, pause. Look them in the eye. Because behind every uniform is a story, and sometimes it's a story worth more than gold.